This day in sports history. It's March 9th, and conference tournaments are getting cranked up around the country, the most exciting time on the sports calendar. So today, we're celebrating some great conference tournament finishes. Let's start with what happened on this day back in 1974 in the ACC Championship game. So this is top-ranked NC State and number 4 Maryland. This game was a rematch of the tournament championship game the year before, with NC State winning that one by 2 points. And the big thing to know is that at this time, the NCAA tournament only had 25 spots, and each league only had one automatic qualifier to the NCAA tournament. There were no at-large bids. And as we learned about on the March 6th edition, the whole idea of the conference tournament champion being crowned as the league champ and qualifier of the automatic bid originated with the ACC and Everett case. So high stakes and high drama played out on this night. NC State was the top-ranked team in the country, and they were 24-1 at this point, with their lone loss being way back in November to the then top-ranked UCLA Bruins. The Maryland Terrapins were ranked 4th in the country with a 23-4 record, but of course 2 of those losses had come against State in the regular season. In fact, they'd lost 5 straight to the Pack. But the Terps scooted out to a double-digit lead in the opening minutes of the first half. State's big man, 7'4" Tommy Burleson, had the game of his life, though.
12 minutes to go, a little less in the first half. That is Burleson. Just as we said, Jim, Tommy Burleson goes right. He makes it very difficult for Len Elmore due to that size.
Burleson scored 38 and grabbed 13 rebounds, and the game went to overtime. Burleson's biggest play came on the defensive end in the OT when he blocked a shot by Mo Howard to preserve a 1-point lead. The Terps had another chance to take a lead a few moments later, but John Lucas threw an errant pass that went out of bounds, and that ended their final chance. Monty Towell sealed it when he hit a pair of free throws to give NC State the 103-100 win. David Thompson scored 29. The Pack shot 55% from the floor. The Terps hit 61% of their shots in the losing effort. The Pack earned the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament, and of course, the Pack went on to avenge their earlier season loss to UCLA in the Final Four, and then beat Marquette to win the national title that year. Maryland was invited to play in the NIT, but they declined. The loss to NC State ended their season. This game did force a change, though. The NCAA expanded the tournament field to 32 the next season, allowing for conferences to have at-large bids. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. I'm a big fan of shave soap. I've been using different brands for years, and I recently gave Sterling's shave soaps a try, and I've been very happy with the results. Sterling's shave soaps give you a great lather and a frictionless feel that allows the razor to glide right over the skin for a super close shave. No skin irritation and a clean, refreshing feel with no soapy residue after. I can tell you without a doubt, it's simply the best shave I've ever had. And my wife has noticed too. And here's the thing. With the ability to purchase 1-ounce sample pucks, you can try out different scents to find the right one for you. Give Sterling Soap a try today. Visit sterlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com. On this day in 1996, it was an exciting finish to the Big East Final. This was number 3 UConn and number 4 Georgetown in the Garden. UConn junior Ray Allen versus Georgetown sophomore and the original AI, Allen Iverson.
Look at Iverson swiping at the ball. Big East Defensive Player of the Year working against the MVP of the league. And that goes down. Oh, that's Hail Mary time. He's unbelievable. He's unstoppable.
Neither one of those guys really had good games, though. Iverson finished with just 13 points, and only 2 of those came in the second half after he got into foul trouble. And he actually went through a stretch where he missed 14 straight shots. But it was a tight game throughout. Intensity, drama, role players stepping up, but it came down to the 2 primaries in the end. With a little over 30 seconds remaining in the game, the Hoyas were up 1, the Huskies had the ball.
Gonna try to kick it out, a little handoff. Allen with Iverson on him, throws one up. Off balance! Unbelievable! Georgetown can win if they score. Iverson with 7, with 6, Spades missed it. Williams rebound. He missed it as well. UConn survived.
Ray Allen scored 17 points on the night, and his go-ahead bucket was his only field goal in the second half. But it was enough to give UConn their second Big East tournament title. On this day in 1991, it was another game winner from Seton Hall's Oliver Taylor. This was a Big East tournament semifinal game between Taylor's Seton Hall Pirates and the Villanova Wildcats. Villanova was a bit of a surprise to be playing in this one. Nova, as the 8th seed, had snuck past Boston College in the play-in game and then knocked off 4th-ranked Syracuse in the quarterfinals. Seton Hall was number 21 in the country, and Oliver Taylor had hit the big shot the night before against Pitt to give the Pirates a 1-point win, and with the game tied at 72 in the final seconds of this one, P.J. Carlesimo put the ball in the hands of Taylor again.
Taylor is the man who won it yesterday. He is dribbling down to 10 seconds to go.
Taking a lot of time here.
6 seconds, Taylor now on the drive. Trying to be the hero again. He does!
Seton Hall won 74-72 and then went on to beat Georgetown the next night to win their first Big East championship. Hey, I needed to call a quick timeout to let you know that we're giving away a $50 gift card to Home Field Apparel. Have a favorite college sports team? Of course you do. You're listening to a sports podcast. Well, Home Field Apparel has all the great gear so you can support your team in style. Jerseys, hoodies, hats, and a whole lot more are available in your team's colors and insignias. So go to sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways for your chance at a $50 gift card to Home Field Apparel. I've also put a link in the show notes. Now, let's get back out there. We've got more of this episode to do. On this day in 1946, baseball's Ted Williams turned down a $500,000 contract to play in Mexico. So yesterday we talked about Babe Ruth's record contract back in 1930. And here we are 16 years later, and still no contract in the major leagues has surpassed that one, and it wouldn't for another 3 years. A lot of that time was spent in the Great Depression that the country started to come out of in 1939. Now, post-World War II, contracts start getting bigger. While in Mexico, a millionaire by the name of Jorge Pascual wanted to build the Mexican Baseball League into a rival of Major League Baseball in the U.S. And so he started raiding major league teams, attempting to lure them away with big money contracts. And it ended up being a threat to MLB's reserve clause 25 years before Curt Flood. But we'll get to that in just a second. The first player that Pascual successfully lured south of the border was New York Giants outfielder Danny Gardella. Gardella had only played 2 years in the majors and was a pretty light-hitting player. He did have 19 home runs in 45, and he was offered $5,000 a year to stay with the club for the next 2 seasons. He wanted a little bit more, and so he took an $8,000 a year offer and a $5,000 signing bonus to play in Mexico. It was the start of the so-called Mexican League War. It wasn't long before 4 more players signed to play in Mexico, the most prominent of those being Giants pitcher Sal Maglie. But Maglie was an unknown property at that point and would not make a name for himself until he returned to the States in the 50s. And then Pascual started going after the big names. New York's Phil Rizzuto was offered a $60,000 contract. Cleveland's Bob Feller was offered a 3-year contract for $120,000 per year. And then Boston's Ted Williams was offered a 5-year contract worth $500,000 when he was making $40,000 a season with the Sox. All 3 of those guys said no, Williams doing it on this day in 1946. But others did sign. The St. Louis Cardinals lost a trio of players, and it forced Commissioner Happy Chandler to clamp down. Chandler declared that any player who skipped out on his contract and went to Mexico to play would be banned from baseball for at least 5 years. He also said that anybody who played with or against those players, or managed them or against them, would also be punished. That had an effect on Cuban, Panamanian, Venezuelan, Puerto Rican, and other Latin American players that played in their own country's leagues and also played against the Mexican League in the wintertime. Pasquale's plan for the Mexican League did not last long, however. Those big contracts he had signed with the 20 or so major leaguers who actually went south weighed heavily on the league, and it shut it down in 1948, with Pasquale resigning as president. Now, the challenge to the reserve clause. Gardella sued Major League Baseball in 1947, challenging the reserve clause. 2 other players also sued, claiming MLB was a monopoly in violation of antitrust laws. All 3 players were denied by the U.S. Court of Appeals in 1949. Chandler, hoping to quell any more challenges, reinstated all the players after just 3 years instead of the 5 that he initially said, and they were allowed to play in the 1950 season. Interesting to think what Happy Chandler would have considered if Ted Williams had been part of that mix and taken that contract on this day in 1946. And on this day in 2001, 16-year-old high school sophomore Ty Tryon shot a 73, becoming the second youngest player to make the cut at a PGA Tour event and the youngest in more than 50 years. After winning the Monday qualifier, Tryon shot an opening round 67 at the Honda Classic and then his 1-over-par round on this day to punch his ticket to play the weekend. He shot 2 under 70 on Saturday and a closing round 68 Sunday to finish in a tie for 39th, 8 shots back of winner Jesper Parnevik. Tryon's success at the Honda Classic gave him the confidence to go to Q School, which he survived to earn his tour card for the 2002 season. Endorsement deals with Callaway and others followed, but from there, it did not go well on tour. It's not a tragic tale, but more of a cautionary tale. He only made 1 cut in the 02 season. He received a medical exemption to keep his card for 03, and he made only 3 cuts that year and was 196th on the money list at the end of it. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. John Tyler, who was born in 1790 and became the 10th President of the United States from 1841 to 1845, has a living grandson.
Say what?
John Tyler fathered a son named Lyon Gardner Tyler in 1853 with his second and much younger wife, Julia Gardner. Lyon then had 2 sons of his own in his 70s, also with a much younger second wife, one of whom, Harrison Ruffin Tyler, born in 1928, is still around at the age of 96. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.